let's do it, he said. Okay, let's do it. All right. Only I'm into it. All right. Why don't we get started? And people will come trickling in as they generally do. Good evening, everybody. It is 7:01 p.m. Eastern Time in Memphis, Tennessee right now, which everybody in Memphis knows can mean just one thing, that it's time for another episode of The Yard. In addition to broadcasting live through our Zoom channel, we're being seen on Facebook Live, on Twitter Live, on YouTube, and also Instagram Live. So we got a bunch of people all over the place. And of course, this episode, like every other, is recorded and available for replay on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in Commissary Club, you'll see all the past episodes, I don't know, 40 or something of them, maybe more. And you can enjoy them just as much now as they were when we first did them. The reason why we're talking about Memphis is, aside from having great barbecue, Memphis was also, for a while, the home of our guest tonight, who we'll meet very, very shortly. The Yard is a production of Commissary Club, which is the first social network for the 70 million Americans with a criminal record, along with their friends and family, and along with other people who are interested in the criminal justice space, reentry specifically. If you haven't already, please go to commissary.club and you'll receive links to download the app on either your iOS phone or your Android phone. It's available on both platforms. And there's some good people who are posting stuff, and there's a lot of good content and interesting things that are going on. We're going to be officially launching it very soon. We're working out just a couple of details, and we'll be getting the word out throughout our network, which has pretty vast reach. So I'm expecting we'll have a lot of people on the app. My name is Richard Bronson. I'm the founder and CEO of Commissary Club, along with 70 Million Jobs, which is the national employment platform for folks with records. As usual, I am joined by my two very good friends and teammates. Number one, we have NBA legend Seth Sundberg. In the NBA, he was known as being one of the quickest 7-footers in the game.
Wow, that is so not true.
And if you see him now, just walking down the street, you'll understand, because he's like a puma.
Yeah, yeah, like a ninja, like the 7-foot ninja.
So fast. Blink, he'll be out of you won't see him. He's that. Hi, Seth.
Yeah. What's up, Richard? Just keeps getting better.
Better and better, man.
Listen, if your career wasn't that big a deal in over time, it's going to get better and better.
Yeah, it's already gotten better and better these last 40 episodes that we've done.
Yeah. Joining Seth is another good friend and rapper to the stars and entrepreneur par excellence. He is, of course, the very fabulous Divine. Hey, D, how are you?
Peace,
D.
peace, Richard. Great to be back. What up, Seth?
What up? What up?
Great to have you. And of course, the brains of the operation, who pulls all the strings in the background, the very wonderful teammate of ours, Adrian Hatter. So that's who we are. For the benefit of those who might be new to the yard, let me just very briefly explain what we do, what we try to do. Both Seth and Divine, as well as myself, have done time. And all of our guests have also done time. What we try to do in the yard is simulate the kind of conversations that might occur on any yard at any prison. Prisons and jails vary based upon where they're located, based upon if they're federal or state or local. They differ based upon security levels. So, you know, the whole incarceration experience is not uniform by any means. You know, people have the misconception that criminal justice, the rendering of criminal justice is a big federal thing, you know, like the Defense Department or something. But in truth, 90% of criminal justice occurs on a local level. And it's very fragmented, and you know, one state doesn't talk to the other, one town doesn't talk to the other town in the same state. So it's a bit of a mess. But what goes on at the yard of any facility is very similar. It's a time when they let folks out of their cell, men or women, and allow them to get some fresh air, you know, maybe for an hour, maybe for 2 hours, a time that you could lift weights or go hang out with your friends, basically. And that's what we're going to do tonight, the latter, hang out with our friends. Inevitably on the yard, in real life, conversation gets emotional at times. Sometimes it gets a bit heated and argumentative and confrontational. But generally speaking, there's a lot of laughter that goes on because people on the yard are generally in a pretty good mood because they do have a chance to get some fresh air and sunshine. And they can make believe, even if it's just for that 1 hour a day, that they really are human beings, despite what they're going through or what they've been through. And that they, in fact, have a life and, in fact, have a life to look forward to when they get out. Many of our guests have had very painful lives, challenging lives, and that led them to getting into trouble. Before we bring up what might be traumatic for some of our guests, we ask them prior to going on if there's anything that's off limits, anything that they'd prefer avoiding, because we want to be very sensitive to that. And we don't want to exploit them or certainly make fun of the pain they've experienced or anything like that, just the opposite. So it's true, you know, you'll hear us laughing tonight, I have no doubt. But in general, I think we do that as a defense mechanism, and that's our way of dealing with our pain. Divine really eloquently put it several weeks ago that we laugh because there are no more tears to cry. And that's a very insightful and wise statement that he makes. We have people who've done amazing things. And our goal is to honor how truly exceptional they are, in the hopes that maybe that person could be an inspiration to somebody else, you know, who's dealing with his or her own pain, give them a reason to persevere. So I can't think of a better way to honor people than have them on and have them share what's been going on in their life. Our guest tonight is an interesting guy. Like so many others, he had a life on the street, slinging drugs as a means of supporting himself. And eventually that path brought him to prison, like so many others. Unlike most others, however, our guest took that experience and really made a plan for his life when he got out. And right now he's living it, that plan. Aside from being an entrepreneur himself who's launched several successful businesses, our guest is a well-known music artist whose style really defies all descriptions. He's a heavy metal rapper with a bit of country, a bit of gospel thrown into the mix, but it's certainly unique. And along the way, he wrote a very popular book, From Prison to Power, Your Prison Starts in Your Mind. He's a motivational speaker, and he claims he has the secrets to leading a productive, empowered life. So I, for one, am very eager to get in on those secrets. So let's say hello to our guest tonight, Kent Osborne. Hey, Kent, how are you?
Salute, Kent.
Okay.
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm blessed to be here tonight, man. Thank you for
Good to have you, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it is, man. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for me to join you.
Oh, we're happy that anybody shows up. So don't be that flattered.
We got an open move. Get out to the yard.
Okay. We're very appreciative for your time. And Kent now is speaking to us from Melbourne, Florida, which is a few hours north of where I am in Miami. So let's get into it, okay? Kent, you give us an idea of, you became a teenager, what was your life all about? I understand you lost both of your parents at a very young age. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Did that have an immediate impact on you? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely had an immediate impact on me.
How did that impact you? What did that do to you?
Well, losing my dad at 5 and losing my mom at 9, and having to go live with my aunt until I was 14, it was like I didn't have no guidance. I didn't have nobody to give me direction and teach me which way to go. I didn't have no mentorship. So it was just basically just me being raised by the street and just listening to this rap music and letting the rap music control me and the street guys control me. And that was the impact I had. I didn't have no guidance, no leadership, no mentorship.
Okay. And did you discover sort of like a home on the street? I mean, was that you belonged to something, that you felt, you had guidance maybe? I mean, did you find people who could influence you or guide you?
Well, in the streets, you're gonna find people that are gonna influence you to do the wrong thing, guide you down the wrong track, So after my mom passed and having to go live with my aunt, I stayed with my aunt till I was 14 years old, and my aunt and I, we couldn't get along, So I ran away from my aunt's house. I remember, like 4 o'clock in the morning, packing up my stuff and jumping out the window and running to my cousin's house. And my cousin, she was young, way younger than my auntie. So I stayed with her and she let me have all the freedom I wanted. So I started hanging out into the streets and, start hanging around the wrong crowd. And you already know how it is, man. The people you hang around play a major role in your life. You hang around losers, you're gonna become a loser. You hang around winners, you're gonna become a winner. So I found myself hanging around all these losers and I became a loser, doing drugs, snorting powder, smoking weed, breaking in houses, snatching purses, like everything you can think of to try to survive and getting around the wrong people. And I ended up going to jail at 16 years old.
You went to jail at 16 for what charge?
I went for aggravated assault on a police officer. The police officer said I aimed the gun at him, but at this moment I didn't aim the gun at him because I wasn't as stupid to get shot by the police. I was throwing the gun, getting rid of the gun, and I guess when I threw it, he tried to say I aimed it at him, but I ended up going to trial. I sat in the detention center for a couple of weeks, then they juvicated me as an adult at 16. I went to the jailhouse and ended up beating the charge at 16 years old after doing like 6 months. And got back out into the street.
How was it? Go ahead, Seth.
No, real quick, man. So, like you said, you got tried as an adult at 16. I mean, that like that's something that seems to be more common than people think. Like it's something that a few of our guests have said. Was that your experience? Were a lot of people at that time? Do you remember getting that same kind of treatment, or was it because it was a police officer and there was a vendetta against you or something like that?
I never had new people got adjudicated as an adult. In the pod that I was in, was a few people in that
There
few
was, yeah.
teenagers in that pod that had got adjudicated as an adult.
Man.
Where'd you grow up at? What city, what state was this you in?
This was in Melbourne, Florida.
Oh, you was in Florida. Okay.
I was in Florida at the time.
Did you said, I know you mentioned like we have similar life stories, man, just like growing up in the hood, and people that never really grew up in the hood and have experienced the level of poverty that we have, and the easy route to prison fast that we take. It always comes out of a sense of struggle.
Yeah.
It comes from a sense of meaning and trying to do the right thing and doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, if you would.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever see? Because at times, sometimes you'll find individuals in the hood. You find certain situations where you have another pathway. It might not be the best one, but it's better than the one that you're on. You know what I mean? Did you have anybody at all? I know you mentioned no mentorship and people like that, no role models. But was there any situation, anything that occurred at the time that you were going through that kind of gave you a glimmer of hope?
Now, well, I used to play football, man, before I ran away from my aunt's house. I was playing football, and I mean, I was real good at football. I played running back. I played a linebacker. Like, I never came off the field. Like, when defense was over, they kept me on the field. I went to All-Star every year. I was good at sports with
right.
baseball and everything, but basketball, I played all of them, but football was what I was good in.
Right.
And I didn't have the support from my aunt who I was living with, my aunt, my uncle, which is her husband. I didn't have that support. So, and then, like I said, me and my aunt couldn't get along. So it was easy for me, just to run away and get into the street, but when I got into the street, I didn't have no kind of positive role model. Nobody trying to pull me away. Everybody was pulling me to the street to do all the wrong things.
Did you feel that, I don't know if you can remember your state of mind back then, but did you feel like it was inevitable that that's the path you would take, that was sort of the arc of your life? It would be on the street, you're involved with these people and you get arrested, you go to prison. I mean, was there not any other choices that you could have made or you saw, or was this really just the only thing you knew what to do?
That was just the only thing I knew to do. I didn't have no other choices. That was the only thing I knew to do. I didn't have no positive role models in my life that could show me and tell me another positive way. It was just that way. Streets.
You said something earlier that I haven't heard you say before, but it's a very profound statement, like an easy path to prison, right? Just going zip, 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 and then okay, that's just what's expected.
So you were 16 and you went to county jail, right?
Yes.
So you were a young kid to be there with all these grown men, right?
Oh yeah. But they had to separate it though from the grown men, but we all
right.
Same jail.
Okay. Were you frightened there, or did you feel comfortable there, or what?
I felt comfortable, It's like, back
talked about this before.
Yeah, when you in the street back then, it's like when you go to jail, it's like it's cool. It's cool to go to jail. You go in there, you work out, you get out, you're gonna have all the women sweating you, you got your boys on the street, you've been locked up. So it's kind of cool. So I never felt no kind of way about it.
Yeah, I broke this down before in the yard. Exactly the same exact words. Damn near paraphrase what I said.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah,
badge of honor.
That's why when these rappers,
there you go, said the badge of honor.
Yeah, that's why these rappers go to jail. They get a lot of credit for going to jail. It's like, it's crazy though. It's crazy how
street credit. I mean, to African Americans and living in poverty and living in that state of the projects and all that, in the streets, that's like you get that credibility. That street kid means everything to you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you're always gonna be like, there's so much competition and there's so much machismo going on in the hood.
Yep.
And people are always challenging you, or you're weak, you're not this, you're not that. And you got to show and prove yourself. Someone disrespect you, say something crazy, you got to fight them, or you got to shoot them or stab them or something.
Yep.
That's the life that we live, man.
Yep.
And it's sad, man.
Yeah, it's sad, very sad.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's not a movie.
So you were in for a few weeks, I think you said, in county, then you received a 2-year bid, right?
Well, I was in for 6 months and I ended up beating the case and getting out back into the street as a teenager. And when I got back into the street, man, got right back into the same thing. Like my mindset.
You got your badge now.
Yeah, I got there you go. Yeah, I got the badge now.
Yeah. Now I got that battery. That battery's in his back. He's like, I'm good now. What?
Yeah. They throwing parties for me. We smoking, we drinking, we ride. Listen to
we
celebrate.
celebrate.
You fresh out.
Yeah, yo.
Fresh out. You fresh out.
All the chicks are sweating you. All the chicks is like, yo, what's good? You out? What's good? What's popping?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I know what it is.
Yeah. I jumped right back into the street, man. Started back robbing, stealing. I started selling drugs and everything, trying to make money to survive, man. I ended up, finding myself.
This is a very interesting sort of conversation that we're having, in that in your experience, in your world growing up, not only wasn't there this terrible stigma about going away, but it was considered, like I said, a rite of passage. Like, now I'm a man.
Yeah.
And I did my time honorably, and I wasn't a punk, and I got out and bigger and stronger.
And you beat the case too.
Well,
like,
you really a hood hero now.
Wholesome way.
You're really a hood hero now. You beat that case, baby. You gave it back to him. You know what it is, Kent. You know what it is. You get that case back, baby.
Yeah. Oh, now beat that case. That's right.
Okay, but let me just
Oh man,
plot out here, okay?
this is a yard for real.
We go off on this other road. So in your world and your world, Divine, you're talking about how it's an inevitable experience, and it serves a purpose, sort of making you a man, making you an adult, giving you respect on the outside, making you attractive. It's desirable,
It's crazy, but it is.
Terrible
Yeah,
stigma.
it's crazy though, but it's crazy, but it is right. Dang.
But whereas in my world, and I think in Seth's world, I was the first person in my family, and I didn't have any other friends who went away to prison, and it was a complete scandal with me, and there was a huge amount of shame.
What?
And you have no idea,
Yeah.
And-
Shame, like fear, everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Two
And-
totally different ways.
Crazy
We
dynamic.
had no idea what to expect. And, when I was first convicted, and it was like a year and a half before I actually went to prison, which was a mistake. I should have just gone the minute I could, just to get the clock ticking. But I had a year to sit and worry about going to prison, and that was terrible for me. Because I feared, what's it going to be like, and all the worst kind of thoughts. And of course, it was nothing like that. It was really, I got through it fine. But in my world, it was really, something unthinkable. And Seth too. And it's a socioeconomic thing, or a black and white thing, or something. But I feel like it's very significant, like if you're a kid, if you're going to prison and that's how your life is going to play out, as a little kid, like I just think about it, that's an awful thing for a kid to be expecting, isn't it?
I mean, but at 16, you're not like in the hood, you're not a kid. It's like, even though you're a teenager, but you're not a kid. Your mentality is just, you've been exposed to so much so fast, whether it's drugs, whether that's, sex, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, guns, violence. You've been
Yeah.
exposed to it all. So like I said before, on a previous show, I talked to Richard and him. I was explaining that, yo, going to prison was like, okay, I'm going to prison. It is what it is. Like you expect it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's coming. It's on the horizon. So when
Yeah.
you go, you're not so much shocked, or you're not so much like, oh man, I'm in prison. You want to go home, but
Right.
it's part of the daily life, the crime culture, if you would.
Yeah. And like I tell my wife, it was who it was. She had a 16-year-old. But it's other people too. I see that have kids that's like 14 years old. When I look at these kids, and I be like, and they like kids, you know, with their parents and stuff like that. Yeah, I look at them like, man, when I was 14 years old, you know what I was doing? I like,
same way.
14,
Same exact thing I do. Same exact thing I think of.
Okay. So, hey, Kent, do you have any kids?
No, my wife have kids, so I have.
Okay.
But they grown. They teenage. They grown.
And
18.
So what do you do, or can you sort of change that pattern, that inevitable cycle? How do you introduce positive things and that you don't have to go to prison just because, you know, I mean, there are options available to you. What do you do? Or are you conscious of doing things differently?
Well, first I ask them how do they want to be successful, you know, and everybody wants to, they want to be successful. They want to make money. They want to have money. They want to have the bling. They want to have the cars. They want to have, you know what I'm saying? They want the women. They want to, but it's a way you can get that without having to do crime and going to prison and getting killed. It's a way you can do it. First thing you need to do is get your education. Stay in school, get your education. And you got to get around the right people. You got to get around mentors. You got to get around positive people. And that's going to help take you to the top. You know, and everybody, and I tell these kids all the time, see, in our communities, they feel like sports is the only way out, right? You got to play football. You got to be a rapper. I said, man, using your body and all that, speaking, that ain't the only way out. You can use your head. You go to school and get that education and use your head. You can be successful. Everything that these guys got that you see on the street, if you go to school, you will have that and a lot more. You'll be able to start your own business. Like, why not be, you want to go to be the, everybody can't be no basketball player. Everybody can't be no football player. Everybody can't be a rapper because they don't have that talent. But guess what everybody can be? Anybody can be an entrepreneur. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. Why not own the record label that these rappers rapping on? Why not own the football team that these football players own? Why not own the basketball team that these basketball players own? That's entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. And all that takes is getting education. You ain't even got to finish school, because I didn't finish school. I dropped out, but I knew how to go get the information that I needed. I knew how to go get courses, classes, and get with mentors and stuff to teach me and read books. If I didn't get the education, I had to get the education on my own. It's called personal development, self-discipline. So I tell the kids that all the time, man. That's the way to do it. Get education and get around the right people.
The irony of what you're saying too, Ken, is that, you know, selling drugs is a business. Yeah. Is entrepreneurial. You know, they don't even know how close, you know, they are to like going, oh, if I switch this product out, I'm still dealing with margins. I'm still dealing with marketing. I'm still dealing with, you know, accounts payable, accounts receivable,
distribution,
you know what I mean?
marketing,
HR, right? I gotta hire my team. You know, I gotta make sure I got overhead. I gotta make sure, you know, everything's right. And, you know, and it's swapping out the product. And it seems like, you know, if someone's, you know, grabs, especially, you know, 14, 16, I mean, you know, you've seen a lot. And you're forced to mature faster, but you're still like a malleable human being, right? If someone grabs you by the collar and goes, "Hey, man, like put that shit down," you know, let's go do this thing over here, which, you know, we're gonna totally divert that path. I mean, it seems like that's something that you know, that is right there. Yet, you know, I mean, so many people, whether you're white, black, whatever, you know, if you're in the dope game, like. You don't, there's just a blind spot or something's missing, you know what I mean? And it'd be interesting to, you know, to just dig into that and go, all right, let's just go, you know, start grabbing people by the collar and go check this out.
Michelle wrote in the chat room I'll just read what she wrote because it's very insightful. Because the social structures and supports are so messed up, it's up to the kids to make that terrible system work for them. And that's a shame that it's up to the kids. I never felt it was up.
That's profound.
It
I
is.
couldn't have said it better.
I
Thank you,
felt like it
Michelle.
was laid out for me, and the expectation was, at my high school, everybody went to college. That was expected. You know, it wasn't expected that you would lead a life of crime, which I ended up doing. And, you know, and she writes, it should be up to a person to make their lives for sure, but the structure, the system, society shouldn't be fighting against them. So I have to ask you both, I've heard you talk about this, Dee, that when you got to prison in very short order, you said, I'm going to make the most of this. I'm going to learn what I haven't learned yet. I'm going to associate myself with people that, you know, I could gain from. I want to be that entrepreneur. I was successful in doing something illegal. I could be just as successful doing something legally. What clicked for you, or what Seth calls, what was that spark that made you start looking at things differently than you had out on the street, Ken?
What made me start looking at things differently?
Yeah.
Well, you know, the first time when I went to prison, my mindset was still the same way when I went to prison the first time. You know, I got around all these guys in there, and you know, we started rapping. I started rapping when I was in prison. But the music I was making, it was promoting violence, sex, drugs, and guns. So you already know what that's gonna lead to when you end up rapping that kind of music right there. You know, and I remember being in there, and I had a cousin, he was out. And that cousin that was out in the street, he was the same cousin I was hanging out with before I went in there. But at the time, he hadn't came up. He was like a little petty hustler, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like the Biggie Smalls, the Biggie Smalls story. Y'all know Biggie Smalls, right?
Yeah.
Like the biggest,
you know, I know.
Yeah. Before he got with P. Diddy, you know, he was all bummy and stuff like that. But then when he got with P. Diddy and he started doing his music, he blew up. Now he got the suit, the ties, riding in a nice car. That's how my cousin was. He
went from ashy to classy, in his own words.
Yeah. So that's how my cousin was before I went in there. So when I was in there, man, you know, I did 25 months. I went to work release, and he had then called my girlfriend and left his phone number and told me to call him. So I ended up calling him from work release. When I was on the phone with him, he was like, "Cuz," he said, "Boy, when you get out," he said, "I'm gonna put you on." He said, "Boy, I done came up. I'm on strong. I done came up. I'm gonna put you on when you get out. I'm gonna put you on." So here I am. I'm all happy, walking around the compound, beating on my chest. Yeah, telling all my homeboy, "Hey, when y'all get out, y'all need to come holler at me. I'm gonna be on strong. I'm gonna be a man. Y'all need to come holler at me." I'm all happy about getting out, doing the same thing that had me trapped in there where I was in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That's the mind. That's the mind. Like when I say prison of power, it's all about the prison in the mind, right? And God gives us the power over our life. So I was trapped inside that mental prison, still happy by getting out, doing the wrong thing that was gonna land me back in the place where I was at.
You're ready to go.
So what changed things?
What changed things for me to get on the right path?
Yeah.
When I went to prison that second time.
There you
I
go.
went to prison twice. I went to prison that second time, and I remember being in prison that second time, and I was talking to this guy and telling him everything I was doing. You know how I had to open up for Lil Wayne, opening up for Juvenile, songs with Pastor Troy Fieldmark. I became a recording artist when I got out, a street artist. And I was telling this guy in prison that, and the guy was like, "Kent," he said, you in here now. He said, "Bro, if you want to be successful," he said, "you need to give your life to God." He said, "I'm telling you, bro, if you give your life to God," he said, "I'm telling you, bro, anything that you want out of life, it can happen for you." What he was telling me was Matthew 6:33, which says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things should be added unto you." This is what this guy was telling me, that I needed to seek God and his righteousness. And man, once I started going to church, you know, I just ended up giving my life to Christ, man. Because the more and more I kept going to church, because you know how they had church, you know. We had church like 7 days a week in there.
So religion, so basically religion was a catalyst.
Oh yeah, religion
was a catalyst.
That's what saved my life. It was God, Jesus. That's what saved my life. Because I know if it wasn't for him, I'd be dead or in prison right now if it wasn't for him. I know that for a fact.
So what? But was there a moment when, while you were in prison, where you became open to, religion, where you said, I mean, maybe, I'm unsatisfied with my life. It's not giving me what I need. I'm going to have this endless, get in trouble, go to prison, and just do it over and over and over. What snapped that now you are open to something a lot more productive and important and real for you?
What snap was before I went in there, like I said, I was a recording artist and I was performing with these artists and traveling all over the Southeast selling my music out of my trunk as an artist. And I found myself back in prison again because I was still selling drugs too. But what I was trying to do was take that drug money, invest it into something positive and make it up out the game. Everybody trying to strive to get up out the game. We don't want to do this for the rest of our life.
Same story 101.
Yeah. So I got caught up. And when I found myself back in prison, that second time for trying to do the right thing to get out, to make it out the game, I was like, man, this is it. I can't keep doing this because they're going to keep landing me back in the same place. I got to change. I got to do something. And that's when I talked to that guy. And that's when that guy told me, he gave me the key. He gave me the key to my success and the key to stay out of prison.
Are you still in touch with him? Did you guys become friends?
You know what? No, man. I don't know where that guy at. I wish one day he may hear me telling my story somewhere. He'll come up to me and say, man, I'm that guy that you always tell your story about. I was the one.
And how long has it been since that?
That was like 2007.
Okay. Interesting.
So D, let me ask you the same question. You were in and out of prison or jail a few times. At what point was it like, this is getting old, I can't keep doing this, there's another approach that I can have? Because you changed.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like again, the first time I went in, it was more of a spiritual awakening, if you would. Spirituality is what really helped me get through that time and through everything I was going through, and I was determined to change my life at that point. However, when I returned, it didn't quite happen like that. I went home with no real family structure, no unemployment, and those things are what lead you back to committing crimes and recidivism. So I got caught in the cycle of recidivism. I kept going back. And the thing with me was that I was always had these spurts of success that were just abnormal. I would meet somebody that had 20, 30,000 and I could take that money and make it to 100,000. Like I was seeing hundreds of thousands after my first bid. My first bid, I was seeing way more than that. But then when I came home and after that, I started seeing this money all the time. So for me, I've always been successful in the underworld. I've always been successful in the drug trade to a degree for a certain time. So I always knew I could play those odds and play that game. So if you're successful.
Success that ultimately ends up being incarcerated.
The risk reward.
But exactly. You're always gonna go back to that crap table saying, I just hit that 7 lick, hit that 8 snake eyes, and I came up. So I played that game. I became dissatisfied with it when I had got some legal money, I had mixed illegal money with it, and then when I got arrested, the feds took it all from me. And that made me mad. I was mad that they took that money. I was really pissed off about it. I wrote motions to get it back, like everything. I was really mad about it. So that being said, that level of dissatisfaction with my life, I had to examine it. And when I examined it, I realized, you know what? I'm too intelligent to be doing this. And I feel that my life has a greater purpose. I've always felt I had this greater purpose. And I need to start following that and doing that. And that's when I said, you know what? Entrepreneurship is the vehicle that I'm going to use to do it. And that's when, the rest of my story. I come home, connect with Ben and I connect with you, and it all changed.
So if you know anything about like substance abuse, unfortunately, I've, not myself, although I abuse drugs, but someone close to me, had a real problem. In order for this person to ever get better or for you to help them, they really have to hit rock bottom and they have to be open to it, because
Have to want it themselves. That's right.
Your time. Is the same thing true with the life you were leading, the thug life? that you got to hit rock
It's
bottom?
Thug Life. I love it. He said Thug Life. Yeah, no, absolutely, Richard. Let me answer that real quick.
What, is it funny that I would say that?
No, it's just no, yeah, it's funny in two ways. One, that you would say it.
I get
Two,
that.
that was Tupac is the one that kind of like created that whole persona of a thug life. So it's kind of funny. That's just funny. Yeah. But yes, I think it's more so, I call it crime culture because it's a culture that we adopt and it's out of survival. But you know, it's a culture we adopt and we leverage it and we use it.
But did you have to hit rock bottom is my question.
Yeah, absolutely.
My
It takes
point,
that.
unless you're there, it seems like it's a waste of time. If anyone else came to you and tried to say there's another way and you should consider this and whatever, unless you've hit rock bottom, you're not open to it, right? You're gonna,
Agreed. It's like a drug addict. It is like a drug addict. Absolutely.
It seems like it doesn't matter if it's rock bottom or not. It's just a recognition that the responsibility is on us. You know what I mean?
You know what, Seth?
For whatever it is.
You know what just came to my mind too? It's the ability, it's the thought that you know you can create that money again.
Right.
It's that like that thing you know you could come up, you know you get the 8 ball, you turn it into an ounce, the ounce goes to the quarter key, half a key, and then you know what the money that comes with that. So you know the fame, the hood fame and the hood fortune that comes with it, and you know you can do it so fast and so easy. So it's alluring.
Yeah.
It's alluring to you.
Yeah.
It's like a drug.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Ken, you mentioned earlier about mentorship, and I want to go back to that for just a second because while you were talking about it, you're like, okay, the music like that you were listening to, that was coming into your being consumed by your psyche, by your body, right? But you know what I mean, and that was ultimately who you were getting mentorship from, right? You got Pac and Biggie and everybody going
music. God damn it.
Stories, right? But I mean, so it's almost like the lack of other mentorship, turns that into the mentor, right? And
good point. Good point, Seth.
Yeah, real good point. Yeah.
So he was saying that too. You said that music was influencing you.
Yeah.
You actually was influenced so heavily by music, you started living out the lyrics.
Yeah,
in real life.
Like Plies and all them, we used to listen to Plies. He used to say, ride with that fire, right? Ride with that gun, ride with that fire. So whatever they tell us to do, pop pills, get up, pop pills and listen to me, ride to me. We did it because we figured that's cool in the hood. Like whatever the rapper's telling us, that's cool. That's how you supposed to be. And if you ain't doing it, you ain't cool. You lame if you're not doing it.
So, nobody wants to be lame in the hood.
Nobody want to be lame. Nope.
That should be a t-shirt. So
it's a good call, actually.
Possible to have, I'm certainly, it may surprise you, but I'm not an expert about hip hop music. So my question is it possible to have lyrics and artists expressing, thoughts and sensibilities that aren't destructive, ultimately glorifying, dangerous things like drugs or misogyny or violence or whatever, but in fact are positive? I mean, would people be interested in that sort of message?
I mean, yeah, you do have artists that are positive, artists that speak, positivity and.
Who, Will Smith and who else?
He's laughing, Will Smith. Yo, yeah. Will Smith's a little bit older. It's like Common. You got Common.
Yeah, Common.
You got someone who's considered a street guy, but he has no introspective lyrics. It's Meek Mill about police brutality, about getting out the hood, and it's all about like.
Tupac was actually really positive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you ain't gonna find nobody riding around bumping no Common in the car, like in the hood bumping Common.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. They might be bumping Benny.
But Will Smith, though, for sure.
They might be bumping Benny the Butcher, Griselda, but Benny Butcher tells a story from the lens of I'm glorifying my success from where I came from. So he talks about everything he's come from.
Yeah.
The bricks, the cocaine, the drugs, the violence, the guns. But he's saying we made it now. We're wearing Rolexes now. We're driving all the fancy cars now. We got all the greatest women now. It's like just, you know, that whole experience.
So,
Yeah,
when the other kids hear that though, they feel like, okay, well, he made it like that. Let me go ahead and sell this or do what he did so I can make it out like that.
So they do.
The
They do. They're not seeing the result of him changing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, but let's be honest here. If you're hanging out with your friends in prison, out of prison, and you know there's music that you're into that's popular, and you're singing along, you're doing it together, maybe. You know, I heard guys in prison all the time. You know, they were just rapping other people's work, and it seemed to me it was always about something violent or not positive.
Negative, yeah.
Is there a market for it? Do guys really, because I don't know if women are that interested in hip hop as much as men are, but are they could they get into something really positive? You said you can't be lame in the hood. Wouldn't a lot of people think that sort of thing is lame in the hood?
It's kind of hard for them to get into. I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of hard for them to get into positive. Cause I do positive, but I do Christian rap. I play, spiritual, more spiritual.
Well, there's a niche for that. There's a niche that you service for that. Yeah,
but it's not the mass market, which is the tough part, right? Like, and the kids aren't gonna,
well, he could be the Tupac of Christian rap. He could be the Tupac of Christian rap, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely better. It's just not the mass,
Right,
yeah. It's not popular. All the kids want to be cool, man. They want to do it the street way. So that it's really.
I don't know why negativity is cool. Like, honestly, but negativity is just cool. I don't know why. Being a bad boy, the woman wants a bad boy. She don't want Poindexter that's over there studying his books and all that. But guess what? Poindexter is the one that owns Amazon. Poindexter is the one that owns Andreessen Horowitz.
Another example we always say, like
go figure.
I can do a concert or something, or throw something in the community, which they know is positive. Ain't hardly nobody gonna show up. Right. But you do a little baby concert or something like that, a free baby. I mean, everybody coming out, the whole hood coming out. But they ain't gonna support you trying to do something.
Same thing. If you got the booty shakers going on, people are there. You don't got no booty shakers, they're covered up. No one's coming.
So is it fair to say, Kent, that your thinking changed and you were exposed to spirituality and you became, I don't know if you were born again or what, how you describe your experience, but that all occurred while you were in prison, right?
Yes, that happened in prison.
Okay, so my question is, what is it about prison that makes for a fertile sort of ground where people are open to changing? We hear it all the time. On the street, they would have continued what they're doing. In prison, they had time to think and to meditate on their lives, and they were open to change or whatever. I mean, it makes prison, again, it's another episode we're having where we're talking about how good prison actually does work for some people, right? It sort of blows my mind. We get to this point so frequently.
Yeah.
But I think that it's more so rich at the person, the individual, the experience that you have while you're in prison. Because the majority of people won't have this type of transformation.
I understand.
Right?
But
you're right.
My point is, they wouldn't have had it if they weren't in prison.
Yes.
Even
I remember Alaska's Lisa. She said that if she didn't go to prison, she would never obtain marketable skills.
Right.
Thank prison for that.
I know. Thank prison is a weird phrase.
It is,
that should be a t-shirt.
Prison for helping me.
That should be a t-shirt.
Like, what the
Thanks, prison.
Like, what the hell, man?
I've got a.
It is really weird, but like that's such is life, right? Such is life. The weird things. Life is just weird.
I think it's got there's something to be said for how a diamond is made, right? And it takes severe pressure.
Good
right?
point.
And either that coal turns into mush and is nothing,
collapses,
or right, or it's formed into this hardened, beautiful, amazing connected, conduit and a diamond, right? So and each rock is going to respond differently to that pressure, and there's all kinds of things that go on there, but I mean, it's definitely clear that I know in my experience, like under that sort of pressure, shame, guilt, fear, all of that, I was just, you just search, right? You search yourself, you search internally, you search, you're like falling and you're just trying to grab at anything, and see what's there and what sticks and what you can hold on to.
And I think, okay, Richard.
Go ahead, D.
I was gonna say real quick, I just think it's like, even though we all come from different backgrounds, right? Richard, Seth, me and Kent, there's similarities on each side, right? Yes. I always go back to the human experience, the human transformation, and the ability to transform. We're 4 individuals that did it, right? Yeah. We could be the same statistics of people going back and forth, maybe dying in the streets, Kent, myself, Richard, locked up forever. You went back to what you did. You same thing with you, Seth. But we're 4 examples of human transformation. What's possible when you strive for that higher self, like beyond the shame, beyond the guilt, beyond the crime, right? There's people who committed worse crimes than us, who have forgiven themselves, and they've been forgiven by who they perpetrated the crime against, leading homicides, whatever it is. So it's just all about this human experience. We're all experiencing it, but just in different ways. And everybody's story is valid, no matter what.
Yeah. And so why don't more people experience that then, right? If it's 75% recidivism rate, right? 3 out of 4 people are going back to prison within the first 5 years. They don't have that spark. They don't have that change.
Right, because it's a pattern. Because the pattern always works, Seth. The pattern works. It works if I'm going to go back to if I'm going to go back to the streets and go grab an ounce. That works. But guess what? Yeah. I chose not to fall into that pattern again because the majority are doing that pattern.
Yeah.
I had to create a new pattern for myself.
But it's hard, right? It's hard to change. It's hard to change that pattern, and most people just don't want to do the work.
Absolutely, it's hard. Yeah. It's easy to go back into the patterns. This is any habit that you have.
So, I mean, this is such an intriguing topic to me because, I'm trying to, because we've all expressed that going to prison, it was an environment in which we could change for the better. And I'm thinking, okay, obviously it's sort of like a timeout. You go to prison, you don't have to worry about anything. It's all taken care of for you. You don't have to make decisions. And you have plenty of time on your hands to read, to pray, to meditate, to work out, to get yourself in shape, whatever. And maybe if you're lucky, you learn something, you take a class, whatever. But if the idea of rehabilitation, if you want to call it that, if the prison system really took that seriously, it would seem that they could have incredible results. If the focus was less on punishment and more on rehabilitation, so that more, like Seth points out, 75% of the people don't get it, and they just are in this endless loop. Whereas maybe the 4 of us were part of the 25%. So what does it take to get 25% to be 50% or 80%?
And then we start talking about capitalism.
If we're already there, why not really leverage it? Because the potential clearly is there.
No, that's a good point, D.
Prison is a business. We deal with capitalism and the dynamics of capitalism. So
and just like if you throw.
It's not in their business objectives.
To me, that's a glib kind of.
No,
he's right. What do you mean?
Right. Just like
prison is a business.
Who is gaining the advantage? Yes, if you're a private prison, your business model is based upon how many nights or people behind bars with you. That's how you.
So is a state prison. What do you mean? So is a state prison.
State prisons don't make money.
Absolutely they do. Of course they do. When they're making license plates, when they're making shit for the state, all that shit is sold to the private sector.
How much money is there in making license plates?
You have 1 million people doing it.
Island, it costs the city of New York $438,000 every year to incarcerate somebody at Rikers Island. You really think Rikers Island is making money for the city?
Absolutely they are. So where they get the funding from? Where they get the money from everybody that they lock up?
From
the courts, hold on, the court system gets some money. The court system gets some money. It's all a circulation of money. That's what it boils down to. It's not rehabilitation.
But you could have the circulation of money and then spit out a productive person to society that's paying taxes.
I agree.
That's not killing people.
But more people ain't doing that. There's going to be less people doing that than there's going to be more people committing crimes. That's just what it is.
I don't get that there's the upside. I don't see it. You know,
Well, if there wasn't an upside, they wouldn't do it.
No, I think, why? It's possible that they just really are misdirected. They're stupid. They're not motivated.
What?
No,
All these politicians that went to Yale and went to Harvard, they're well educated.
Yeah, but that's not who's running the prisons. Prisons are run by civil servants. Imagine if the Department of Motor Vehicles was running a prison. That's what it's like. They don't give a shit. They want to punch in. They want to punch out. They want to have few problems as they can. That's who's running prisons. You remember the COs? You know,
Yeah, I remember the COs.
There'd be a lot of people out of jobs though, wouldn't it? If they got rid of the prisons.
what'd
The other,
you say, Ken?
There'd be a lot of people
I
out
was
of
about to
jobs.
make that point next.
yeah. The other thing too is just like we were talking about, like nobody wants to show up to the you know, the positivity conference or the positivity hip hop tour, right? But everybody comes to see Lil Baby and Lil Wayne and all this shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's also like a matter of personal responsibility, like to be going, okay, hey, I want to be part of that 25%. What do I need to get there? And then the tools are there, right? You can't, you know, it's like if one person did it, you know, it's possible for two people to do it. And if two people, you know what I mean? So it's not like there's a lack of something missing in the prison system. It's a lack of something missing in the human, you know, the human lifespan or mentality or process or whatever, right? To go, even if it's not cool.
Seth, what do you think about this, what Michelle just said? She says, I think personal responsibility, which is what you were talking about, has to be taught.
Has to be what?
Has to be taught. Personal responsibility has to
That's
be
the first thing they teach you in the feds. Take
Yeah.
responsibility. Write that letter.
Yeah, for sure. That was a tough lesson to learn.
For real.
You get 3 points off for acceptance of responsibility. Like, shit, I don't want to accept this.
Get 3 points off. You get 3 points for that letter.
Yeah, that's clear. System set.
So,
You know,
I'm not pointing my finger at you, but do you feel like you've taken personal responsibility for mistakes you may have made?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, you got to do that. Yeah. I did that. Ain't nobody else did that. Like I made them mistakes, so I had to change. I had to personally develop myself and get myself back together. Like it started with self. I tell anybody it started with self. It started with you. If you change you, everything around you will start to change. But it starts with you.
Right.
Yep. And that's a good point because there's a phrase, right? And everybody, as soon as I say it, everybody's gonna know what it is. But it's like it's you do the time or the time does you.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? And there's guys that, you know, that I was down with, they did their whole time in front of the TV. They did years and years and years just in the TV room. Wow. And it's like, okay, that's one way to, you know, the time is in my opinion, the time's doing them versus library versus.
If everybody's righteous and nobody's committing crimes, there's no use for prisons. Right? There's no need for prison at all. Because everybody's doing the right thing and everybody's doing right and there's no crime at all. That'll never happen.
But isn't it clear that the whole experience of going away for an extended period of time makes for an environment that really amazingly positive things can happen? It happened to you, D.
Yeah, Richard. I'm about to say that. I mean, prison served as a catalyst for me to have the time to sit down, have the introspection, in retrospect, look at all the things I've done and why I've done them. I mean, I'm somebody who lost their mother to drugs at 10 years old. I'm not somebody who woke up and said, I want to sell crack cocaine today. I want to go get a gun today. I know nothing about crack cocaine. It was all about the experiences I had that led me down a path and led me into an environment that shaped my thinking, that, you know, influenced my decision-making. And the same thing with prison. Prison allowed me the time to sit back and say, yo, I don't want to go through this pain no more. And the pain was, I left my 3-year-old son at home. You know what I mean? Without his father there to take care of him. That was what that pain and that struggle and that stress led to me saying, you know what? I'm gonna become a model inmate. I was a model inmate. in federal prison. I was a model inmate. It wasn't a damn thing I did wrong. I didn't even watch TV. I didn't listen to radio. I was in the library. I was studying. I was learning, trying to build my mind.
Yeah.
And
You didn't get no onions out of the kitchen?
oh yeah, well, you know, we had to make our nachos, baby. Come on, man. That's an internal crime. Doesn't affect the public at large, Seth. Doesn't affect the public at large.
I got
Yeah, but I would do my little trades off. Nah, but I did what I had to do.
What did you eat in prison, Kent? Speaking of onions and food.
Yeah, food and nachos and shit.
We used to make goulashes. We had a goulash, the
wow.
The goulash.
Yeah, the goulash.
The goulash.
Oh yeah, and he was saying, but he was saying, yeah, what really prison? What prison does, man? Sometimes God allow things to happen to you so He can get to you. So, like he said, there's a place where you went, and I started reflecting on my life and all the things I was doing wrong. Absolutely. And I wanted to be successful so bad. I think that's what really helped me change, because I wanted to be successful. Like, everything I was doing out in the street was trying to become successful, but I was just doing it the wrong way. I always wanted success, but I was doing it the wrong way. And when that guy told me in prison that if I wanted to be successful, I need to give it to God.
What did success mean to you when you said, I just wanted to be successful? Was it purely dollars and cents? Is that what you considered success?
To me, I wanted to be a rapper, right? So success means like traveling, performing on stage in front of people. And I wasn't even really worried about the money. You know what I'm saying? It was just more just traveling and doing my passion.
Getting paid to do it, and getting paid to do it. Getting people to
getting paid to do it, yeah, and getting paid to do my passion, so I don't have to sell drugs or rob and steal and none of that right there. That was success to me at the time.
Okay, but now, you know, you're involved. I think your understanding or feeling about success has sort of evolved. It's successful when you can help somebody else.
Yes.
That's a successful life.
Absolutely.
It's very meaningful, much more than, you know, jewelry or whatever.
Right.
You know, touching people positively. You know, I mean, that was something I kind of recognized, you know, like, what a waste. You know, I'm capable of doing great things. Why am I aiming so low? That's sort of a realization I came to.
Yeah, sure indeed. Likewise.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Interesting. I just think the more I think about it, the whole prison experience has the potential, the mere getting away from your life for an extended period of time. I mean, everyone agrees going on a vacation is therapeutic and a positive thing.
We'll just change the name of it to vacation time or to Zen
we'll call it time out.
Yeah, it's yoga camp.
Yeah.
I'm going to time out. I'll see you guys later in about 3 years, 4 years.
Time out.
I'm going to have my existential experience now.
Right, exactly.
About like in countries in Scandinavia, I forget which, in Sweden or something, or Norway, like they have prisons. And I saw this whole thing of a documentary, and they are beautiful places.
Yeah.
Right.
And people treat each other really nicely, and people get along, and people come out of it, you know, not angry. They don't come in.
Do nice places transform you? Like Seth said, you need that pressure. You need that that hard edge to really soften you up.
A lot of those places are socialistic already, and so there's not a lot of hard edges in socialism and socialism economies anyway.
Socialist prison is completely socialist. It's socialism.
Yeah.
You can't be an individual.
Right.
You
can't. Same clothes.
Right.
Exactly. Same clothes.
Same taxes.
And the man's giving it to you too. The man's giving it to you.
But everything's covered. You ain't gotta worry about food. You don't worry about nothing.
Medical care is covered. Your food is covered.
As terrible as it is.
Room and board's covered. Yep. TV bills covered. Cable. You know what I'm saying?
Let's say prison was pretty damn good at the end.
I will say I don't regret my prison experience, only because I turned it into something greater for myself. I can now do the things that I've always dreamed about doing and always felt that I could do.
Yes.
I'm still unfolding that. I'm still unpacking that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
You are, that's for sure. But it's just an incredible thing to think, that wouldn't have happened had I not gone away to prison.
Exactly. Absolutely. I would definitely make that
All
statement.
right, so that's very interesting conversation. I find it, personally.
Yeah, this is great.
What do you, what was when you went away to prison, Ken, what was the thing that you found most surprising? What weren't you expecting?
I guess the way the guards treat you, the food. Basically, that's it. The guards and
You expect the food to be better?
That you weren't expecting?
yeah, I thought for the food to be good. That junk was disgusting. Disgusting.
Yo, was you in federal prison? Was you in federal prison or state?
Huh?
Were you in state or federal?
No, I went to state, but I heard you say you went to Fed. You was in the Feds. I never went
We've
to
all been in the feds. That's all three of us. With Club
That-
Fed.
I was in the Feds. I was in
it's
the
bad
Feds.
day too.
Baby camp, man. I was in baby camp.
It's not everything. It's not everything is cracked up to be. Trust me.
Oh, for real? Oh, okay.
Oh, you made it sound pretty good, D. I have to be honest.
Oh, y'all ain't good enough?
I mean, yeah, you
No.
could definitely eat good in the feds. Yeah,
It was terrible.
better than
It was
state. They say.
terrible, Wowza.
I mean, well, you get the commissary though. You hook it up.
As far as I'm concerned, if the food was a little bit better and there were women there,
Yeah.
I
Oh, you know that, yeah.
That's a whole nother level. There were some women, and Seth came across some women.
Oh, for real? What?
Yeah, first day.
Hey, man.
changed
Oh,
your
man.
number.
I
I was
came
like,
across
this
some myself
this
too.
place is co-ed? Huh.
Yeah, I came across a couple of myself. Some who was
Right.
taking the hormonal pills and stuff like that. They had breasts. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah,
Wow.
I came across a few through all my travels.
Yeah, so you can't get that. You can't get that in the count.
It seems like a very difficult place to go through that experience in one's life.
I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that. That's a whole nother.
They came up.
Yeah, you gotta say that for the Dave Chappelle special.
You got out of prison, Kent,
Mhm.
and where were you geographically then? Were you back in Melbourne when you got out of prison?
Yeah, I got into prison. I was in Melbourne, and I went to work release. I went to work release again. I went to work release every time I went to prison, but this time it was different going to work release because my mindset wasn't I'm finna get out and do the wrong thing. My mindset was I'm finna get out and be successful this time.
The right way.
So what was the plan that you created? Okay, that's what I want to know.
The plan I created was I need to find a job. That was the first thing.
Okay.
Right? I had a job when I was in work release, but the job was a back-breaking job, and they weren't paying up $350 a week. So that wasn't no money. So I already knew it.
And their Walmart wages.
Yeah. And I already knew from what I wanted to do that job wasn't going to supply what I needed, the money I needed.
Yeah, provide what you needed. Yeah.
Yeah, to invest into
the capital you needed to invest in what you wanted to do.
Right. And I wanted to start my own Christian record label, my own label.
Okay.
And I knew, running a record label takes money. You ain't fit to run no record label with no little bit of money. You need some big money. I had to figure out what kind of job can I get that was making
provide
money.
the capital I need.
Yeah, that was making money like selling drugs. What kind of legal job would be close to that? And I went through all kind of different jobs and people turning me down, and I ended up getting into trucking. That's what took me.
That's what all changed.
That's when it all changed. I got into trucking, but I got denied, man, like over 100 times. I was filling out applications. Everybody was turning me down, man. I filled out over 100 and something applications. They were like, man, we can't hire you. Everybody was like, nope, your felony got to be 5 years.
Trucking is fine. I want to hear about how you came to write a book, how you had launched a music career, all of that kind of stuff. Tell us about that.
Well, the music career started with, I was taking the money from the trucking and I started investing into studio time. I started investing into beats, and I already had the talent. I just started doing that, and that's how I started doing music, right? And then as far as I was already doing trucking, and then I ended up starting my own trucking company because I was working for somebody at first, but I needed the time to be able to do the music because when you're doing trucking, they want you on the road 2 and 3 weeks at a time.
Right.
So I got my own trucking company, and then I started taking that money and I started my nonprofit organization. I started taking the trucking money and I became an author, buying books and stuff, investing that money into books. You know, I ended up getting with Eric Thomas, the number one. I don't know if y'all ever heard of him. He's like the number one motivational speaker.
I know ET, bro.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
took his course?
I took his course, man. I took the course.
Salute.
I spent like $6,000-7,000.
I know all about the course.
Yeah, I'm certified. I'm a certified motivational
Congratulations,
speaker.
brother.
But the money came from trucking. That's what I'm telling you. You
Right.
got to find a job. The first thing is finding a job, and finding a job that's gonna supply, that's gonna fund your career, your future.
Yeah.
And that's what trucking did. Trucking funded my future.
It's a good point. It's a good. I'll give a shout out to one of our good friends, Jason Wang, over at Free World, and they that's what they do is they train people that are newly released. They'll pay for their fees. They'll get everything set up, do all that. So yeah, and it's your testimony is a great thing. That's a great career opportunity, and it's a good stepping stone into more things, right? And what you want to do from there. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, Ken, is that you basically took the same principles you were using in the streets, hustling drugs and doing crime, and you applied them to the legal side of it, created a plan, stuck to the plan, and now you reached the goals that you wanted to reach. You wanted to become a Christian rapper, create a Christian label. You did it. You wanted your trucking was a source of the income. You wanted a job that could afford to pay for these things. You did that. Then you took ET's course, became a motivational speaker, took the blueprint and the framework of that, and parlayed that, and then you wrote a book.
Yep.
Right? Am I following this right?
You hitting it right on the head. You hitting it right on the head. Now I got 2 trucks. I'm working on my 3rd truck right now. I got 2 trucks. I'm working on my 3rd truck.
You own the 2 trucks? You own them?
My own trucking company.
All right. Well, let me ask you, what is, regarding your music, what is the theme? What is the message that you try, or is there a message that you try to, bring out through your music?
But the message I try to give is no matter what you've been through, you still can become successful. That God still can use you no matter what you've been through. Like, stop all the excuses. Like, there's no excuse, because if I can come from where I did, losing my dad at 5 and losing my mom at 9, and had to go live with my aunt, ran away from my aunt's house and got into the streets, was doing all the drugs and everything I was doing in and out of jail and prison twice, and become successful. Come on, man. What did that say about you? I know you can do it. There's a lot of people ain't even been through none of that stuff that I've been through. And you telling me that you can't do it? Like, come on. If I can do it, you can do it. It's just principles. It's principles to the whole thing. If you follow the principles, you're going to be successful.
So someone like you was not around when you were a kid, right?
Right. Nobody like me wasn't around when I was a kid.
Right. At least in your life, there wasn't somebody with that message. So you want to make sure that they hear it. You wrote a book called From Prison to Power. Your prison starts in your mind, which is available on Amazon if you want to buy the book. What do you mean when you say your prison starts in your mind?
The prison is in the mind. It's like thinking what you really thought was right was really wrong. What you thought was wrong was really right. So it's just a mindset, having that wrong mindset, that street mentality mindset. And
it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. So once you change that prison in the mind, you can go to power. You can have power over your finances, power over your relationships, power over anything in your life. I just got married, man, like last year. First time I've ever been married. I'm 43.
Congrats.
Congratulations, brother.
Appreciate that. And it was the power of God, man, changing that, going from that prison to power. Now I got power over everything. So that's where prison to power come from. The prison in the mind to power over your life.
So no excuses, only solutions.
That's right. No excuses, only solutions. I like that. I'm gonna have to put that on the shirt. I got some shirts too.
There's like 3 or 4 shirts that,
I can't
need to be printed.
I can't give all my jewels, man. I can't give all my jewels out tonight.
It's a good thing we record this so we can push them back out again.
I'm writing that down right now. No
I gotta see some other episodes, brother.
First the trademark.
Yeah, I like that.
It's intellectual property, goddammit.
Don't sue me, man. Don't sue me now.
That was good.
You're hot as a pistol. We're talking to Kent Osborne, another brother who did some time, who put his life, his past life behind him. And when he realized that he could be doing great stuff, set himself a plan, and I guess with the help of God, ultimately, is crushing it. He's got a business that's growing. He's an author of a popular book. And you're starting, or you've already created this nonprofit, Kent?
Yes, yeah, I created the nonprofit in 2000, the end of 2007.
Okay, what's the name of the nonprofit?
The name of the nonprofit is called Prison to Power, and we work with youth that are truant. Truancy is when kids are missing school,
Right.
you know, and you know what that leads to when they start skipping school and missing school. So we work with them to get them back on the right path. So I'm in and out detention centers. I go into the prisons. You know, I've been doing that for like years, going into the detention centers and prisons and speaking.
There's so many. Yeah, Adrian has just posted some links that relate to you, Ken. You know, your book and your organization. So thank you, Age.
Thank
you. What is it about you? You talked about going back to prisons, you know, and I always find it sort of surprising. You know, I shouldn't, because it's something I've done. You know, when I got out of prison, I worked at a reentry nonprofit, and I spent a lot of time in prisons, you know, and I mean, you know, going into Rikers, I did time in Rikers, which is a pretty bad place. And yet I kept going back to Rikers to try to, you know, do some good. When I think most people would expect you to kind of look at prison, something you want to put in your rear view mirror and never look back on and just get as far away. We get so many guys, like so many people like yourself, who haven't run away, who feel a commitment to their brothers and sisters in prison and want to do something. Does that surprise you?
No, I don't, man. I just know that, you know, that anybody can be successful. And it really it don't have nothing to do with religion or nothing like that, man. If you follow principles, you're going to be successful. So I know if I can go inside these prisons and get them the principles and the tools they need, that they can become successful.
Why do you feel a motivation to go back and help these folks, is my point. You could be out on the street helping anybody, and yet you created a nonprofit that has to do with this.
Going back to prison.
Prisons, you know, what is it about that? Like, do you feel an obligation? Do you feel, you know, a sense of guilt or whatever? Or, you know, why there?
No, it's just passion, man. Passion and love. I just want to just help people. I know if I got the tools to help somebody, if I help somebody else, shoot, God gonna bless me. You know, it's all a blessing. So
what is it about prison though? Why prison?
Because that's where I came from. You know, I want to go back to where I came from.
There you go.
You know, yeah.
You know how you go back and
that's
lift
what we were looking for.
down and pull them up.
Yeah, that's what I was after.
That's what we're looking for, right there.
That's right.
Yeah, in a way, you know.
That's why we do the work we do. That's why we got Commissary Club, to do this work.
That's what's up. Yeah.
For others like us that have been through the same trials and tribulations, the same struggle.
Yep. And we're trying to pull somebody else up right up out of it.
Absolutely.
It's to me, it's like karma. It's an opportunity to really specifically direct and settle and even the score. You know, to take things you did that you regret. Okay, you wanna do the right thing now. It's perfect to take something related to prison and to try to do good with your experience, what you learned.
Oh yeah.
The fact that you can communicate with these folks authentically with credibility, you know what they're going through, and yet I've got a new message for you that you haven't heard, that you need to hear. You know? It's very, very interesting to me because, you know, part of me thinks, get the hell away from it, put it in. I know people who don't think about prison at all. It's the last, you know, who did time. And yet 4 of us, you know, certainly haven't run away. We keep running back.
Well, a lot of people do. A lot of people are scared of public speaking too, you know, right? So, you know, when you're going back in there, you're really speaking to these guys to help them out. But it's a lot of speaking is like one of the #1 thing that
number one fears. That's #1 fears.
Yeah.
They gauge it's #1 fears. Public speaking.
So,
Number one fear, is that what you said, Dick?
Public speaking, yes, #1 fear. They gauge that, and they determine that public speaking is a #1 fear.
Yep, I heard that. Yep,
People.
I heard it.
Yeah.
More than fear
we
of
do it all the
dying.
goddamn time. We just naturals with it.
Yeah, more fear dying. So you know a lot of people ain't gonna be going back. If that's
a valid
people
point.
scared of speaking, you know ain't too many people gonna be going back to speak to no
Are
prison.
you still friendly with anybody you did time with?
I mean, I would be, but I don't even know where they at. To be honest.
Okay, are you D?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm definitely cool with a lot of criminals. Not that I mean former criminals. Sorry. Well, I can't say if they're former or the current. I don't know, but I don't indulge in criminality any longer. But yes, I have friends that have.
Seth has
Incarcerated.
remained friend. Seth is friends with everybody, so it shouldn't be surprising. But Seth has remained very good friends with certain people, right, Seth?
Yeah, there's certain guys that I trust more because they've gone through that, you know,
Yeah.
than anything else. You know, it's like, okay, I know, you know, when your back's against the wall, you know, you're gonna make the right choices, you know, and you find out what people are made of, and you know, when the pressure's on. So, you know, pressure bust pipes, and some
All the
people
time.
cave under that pressure.
Pressure brings cases.
Exactly. But the people that don't bust, I'm down with for sure.
You guys relate to the idea of doing time honorably? I
Always.
feel like I did my time honorably. You
Yeah,
know,
you took responsibility, Richard.
I took
took your time.
responsibility. At the same time, I didn't take advantage of anybody. I didn't
You
rat
didn't
any.
bring down Jordan. Jordan brought herself down.
He snitch on nobody.
Jordan Belfort, he brought herself down. You had nothing to do with that.
Right.
So yes, you did it honorably.
Yeah, I feel like that in a way. You know, how many times do people ask you, do you regret mistakes you made? And my answer is, I mean, obviously, I wish I hadn't made mistakes. A mistake is by definition something you don't want to do. But I feel like I wouldn't be who I am today unless I had the benefit of those experiences.
Yeah.
So
Right.
without it, you know, I would probably be the way I was, which was not a good thing in my opinion. Do you feel, Seth, you know, do you regret stuff you did?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I say that, you know, I'm very grateful for what it was, and it was life changing, and I learned mostly a lot about myself during the process, which I had lost, you know, kind of multiple times along the way, but I don't ever want to do it again.
It was
You know, like I got it. Like I got the lesson. I got the
Yeah,
message.
exactly.
I'm good. You know, but I'm grateful for it.
right?
What's that?
You needed the experience.
Yeah. Yeah,
You feel
absolutely.
that way, Ken? You needed it.
I needed that. I definitely need that experience. I was going this way. It turned me that way.
Right.
Yep.
So when
Newton's law.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you're just a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just at some point you got to tap out. You keep doing the same thing. You keep going through it. And at some point you got to be like, yo, I'm tapping out. I'm good.
That's only 2 ways to end, dead or in prison.
Sorry, say that again.
I said there's only 2 ways that thing ends. You're either gonna be dead or in prison.
That's right.
Good choices. We're going to be wrapping things up in just a couple of minutes. So if you guys have any closing thoughts that you want to share, people are going to be seeing this for a long time. They can download it, you know, as we say, or they may see it in prison. What's your last message you want to leave everybody tonight, D?
No excuses, only solutions, man.
That's powerful.
You inspired me, Kent. You inspired me tonight, brother.
That's what's up, man. Hey, we just find each other, man. All
Salute
us.
to you, man.
That's
What about you, Seth? What's your parting wisdom?
Yeah, you know, I think Kent had a great point earlier, you know, with the trucking company and going, okay, that is something that fueled, like put fuel to the dream to make the dreams a reality, right? And like that's something that's I think is overlooked a lot. You know, we got in trouble because we took shortcuts, you know, or whatever it is. But there's really no shortcuts, right? That's the work, you know, the work to better yourself, the work to you know to secure your financial future, you know, and then be able to chase your dreams in a healthy way, you know, is a great message and great testimony, you know. So thanks for that, Ken. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
Kent, what's your the last thing you want to leave folks with?
Well, the last thing I want to say is you know just figure out, you know, what is it that you want out of life. You know, that's the first thing. You know, so many people go through life not knowing, and they go through life making so many accidents because they don't know what they want. But once you figure out what you want, man, that's going to help to direct your life. It's going to tell you what kind of job you need to get. It's going to tell you how much money you need to spend. It's going to tell you how much money you need to save. It's going to direct your life, because you're going to know if you got them, if you got a job, you know what you want, you get a job, you have to make that money. You got to put some of that money away because you got to invest into your dream and your goals. So figure out what is it that you want. And then once you figure out what you want, you go at it with all your might, heart, and audacity. You might have to take courses. You might have to take classes. You might have to get with mentors, but figure out
You
what
got to invest.
You got to invest into yourself.
You only get out what you put in, man.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Don't be scared to invest into yourself.
Yeah. All right. These are all great. My closing thing would be that if we're capable of having success doing something wrong, it would seem obvious that we could be successful doing something right.
Yes.
And that, in fact, we might even be able to do something great.
That's right.
And how cool would that be? To have a life that people remember you for the greatness in your life, not for the laws you broke or the people that you hurt. And as I get older, on the, among the last few laps of my life, I'm very, very in touch with, wanting to be remembered for my greatness.
Yes.
And every day, I think, here's a chance to be a better man today, a better human. Sometimes I fail miserably. Generally, I fail miserably, but that's my motivation. So, all right, at least a little heaviness for all of us. Kent, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Great having you, my brother.
Y'all follow my links, man. Y'all follow me at k.o.inspirations. That's on YouTube. I'm on YouTube. And make sure you subscribe and like my videos, because I'm putting up daily and weekly motivation and inspiration on my YouTube channel.
Ken, let's get some of those up on Commissary Club too.
Yeah, join Commissary Club, download the app, become an active member in our community.
Okay, I will.
Share some of your wisdom, share some of your motivation, inspiration. We definitely need it.
Yes, sir.
Commissary Club.
And also IG, follow me on IG too at KO the Motivational Speaker on IG.
Definitely.
Okay, and I can echo that. Please follow us on IG, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever. We're constantly
At Commissary Club.
And
Commissary Club.
First and foremost, Commissary Club. Thank you. Another good evening. Thank you all for whoever is here with us tonight. And there's a bunch of our friends here who are with us almost every week. So we're really moved by that and appreciative. We'll be back next week for another episode of The Yard. Everybody be safe out there. Look after each other. If we don't take care of each other, then nobody will.
Yes.
And have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon.
And remember, there's no shortcut to knowledge, especially knowledge gained through experience.
No short
move.
All right, another good closing thought.
That's another gem for you, Kent.